Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets, checking in as always with my esteemed colleague, Uncle Buck. And Uncle Buck, I'm glad we have this opportunity to talk tonight of all nights. You know, we're both struggling a little bit with what to do here. And what better platform to work that out than with all of our faithful friends here at the Two Buck Sports Show. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day. And Rusty was being kind of cryptic here. What he's talking about struggling about is I'm making him record during the presidential debate, the first one of the year, and he can't stand in front of his TV and watch the presidential debate like the 75-year-old man that he is.
And yell at it when it doesn't go my way.
Yeah. So, no, it is Thursday night. It is 8:03 Central Standard Time, God's time zone here in North Mississippi and Western Tennessee for Buckets. And it is currently starting 3 minutes ago, I guess, was the first presidential debate. And I've never been more thankful for anything. In fact, it may be my best of the week that I'm not going to be. I have something to do during the presidential debate. So,
you know, you've mentioned it twice on this network this week. And honestly, that's the only two times I've thought about it being on tonight is when you mentioned it both times. And so thanks for bringing the reminder and making me also grateful that I'm sitting here and not in front of my TV.
It's just it's a very sad state of affairs to watch those two people.
Yeah,
whichever, for anybody, it's kind of like NBA draft. And we're going to get into a lot of it lately. There's a lot of people. It seems like everybody has to have an opinion one way or the other, and they just stand on it. Mm-hmm. And anybody that disagrees is wrong, and nobody truly knows.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the state of America right now, where everybody's just on opposite sides and refuse to see anything other than what they agree with. And it's probably the biggest problem in America right now is that if you don't agree with me, then screw you.
Yeah, or you hate me. But this is not a politics show. We're going to get right back on track as Uncle Buck tries to take us down a path of cancellation. And so Drew, it's been a long 24 hours. You and I have had a few phone calls over the last 24 hours, 3 or 4, just trying to figure out what's happening. But this is a part of the show where we don't talk about sports, and that's coming up next. If you're new here, it's your first time with us, this is a segment where we do what's called our best in beef of the week. And in this, we talk about the best thing that happened to us and the worst thing that happened to us in the past week. But remember, we lead pretty cushy lives. We both have good jobs, roof over our heads, families that love us, friends that tolerate us, and it's not that bad. So, Drew, as you say, I set them up, you knock them down. Hit me with your best of the week.
You know, I had this prepared, best and beef of the week. I'm normally scrambling. As the intro's playing, I'm like, racking my brain thinking about what is the best and worst thing that happened to me this week. But I came prepared up until about 30 minutes ago, and now I have a new best because a good buddy of mine by the name of Bobby Felker calls me, and he was like, listen, what are y'all doing this weekend? And I was like, well, you know, we've got a couple things going on, a birthday party to go to. And he was like, well, how about we take a trip to Atlanta and go to Six Flags and leave the kids? And I was like, deal.
What?
where do I sign? So as of about 20 minutes ago, Haley and I have found a babysitter. Thanks, Mom, Vicky Gann, CPA, and mother-in-law, Connie Miller, real estate agent. Look her up. We have found babysitters to keep our kids tomorrow night. And the missus and I are going with some friends for a kid-free amusement park Saturday.
Oh, my gosh.
I could not be more excited. Yeah.
That's incredible, dude. Good for y'all, man. Y'all deserve that. That's awesome.
Yeah. We've had a crazy summer around here. It was born out of good intentions of trying just to make a little bit extra money. We're like everybody else and every other middle-class family in America. We're just trying to find a way to make a little bit of money when you can. And so my wife took started like a little babysitting gig here at the house, and it has turned into like an absolute nightmare. Not because the kids that we watch are nightmares, just because there's at any time of the day 8 kids in our house, and it's just been wild and crazy. And so to have that phone call and just be able to like the waters part for us because like today the parents of the girls that we've been watching were like, hey, they're not going to be here tomorrow, we're going to keep them. We're like, okay, cool. It opened up for us. And so we must be doing something a little bit right for the waters to part for us like this, for us to get just 24 to 48 hours of just fun, adult fun with friends.
Yeah. You know, Drew, I am fighting all my intrusive thoughts about making a joke about how y'all gonna start a sweatshop there at your house in Ripley, Mississippi with all those kids, but I'm gonna bypass because I don't want to get canceled. So,
well, I tell you what, if you can think of a product that they could make well enough to sell, I'm not above it.
Anything to make a little extra cash in this day and age. Anyway, yeah, that's awesome, man. Good for y'all. Maggie and I, kind of my best of the week. Maggie and I got a little date night planned for tomorrow night. We're going to watch the first Deadpool in preparation for watching the second Deadpool, getting ready for the new Deadpool that comes out next month. And I cannot freaking wait for that to come out, man. I'm super stoked about that. But, my best of the week, I've talked about it on the daily grind. I don't know that I've talked about it on here. If I have, it's like the mosquitoes. It's just a recurring thing for me, I guess. But I have found a new passion for escape rooms in a box. These things are incredible. So the concept,
it's not really an escape room if it comes in a box, right?
Well, it is. You have to take your imagination. It's like reading a book, right? Like you have to imagine you're trapped in these things, right? But Maggie and I have done 2 of them now, and they're incredible. So like the first one, we were trapped in Pharaoh's tomb, and you have to follow clues on this little wall that they give you a picture of, and you have to make connections and inferences in order to find the clues, to get the correct pattern, to pull the card that tells you what the next step is. And there's all these symbolism and all this fun stuff that like, it really turns like, again, like Friday night, tomorrow night, tonight, I guess, as you're listening to this, we're going to sit in front of the TV and veg out and eat popcorn and watch a movie. And that's so much fun.
Right.
But it just changes like for like connection and getting to know one another and talking and working through problems. Like it's a ton of fun, man. And it's really been a lot of fun to work with her, just kind of getting to know her again over these dates. And it's awesome. And this last one we did was incredible. It was a chemical lab that we got trapped in. And so like you had to know some chemistry. Thank God she's a chemist and a pharmacist and a lot smarter than I am, because she was able to make a lot of those connections. And I'm over there just like, cool, we getting out. But it's a blast, man. You should check them out, man. They're a lot of fun.
She does seem really smart. And to make it through pharmacy school, you do have to be pretty book smart. I do wonder if she's only book smart because she hangs out with you.
Right.
So that sounds like a ton of fun. And in North Mississippi, and I'm sure, I don't know, people who lived in the big city of Memphis can sympathize with this, but in small town Mississippi, what you do on date nights is you go eat, and you watch a movie, or you go eat and then you do this, or you go eat and you do this, but it's always centered around eating. And so for you to have like a, no pun intended, outside of the box idea of something fun that y'all can do that does turn the TVs off and just something to do together is fun. We do a lot. We like watching, like, we'll just go find a game show, like trivia stuff, anything we can like do trivia. Cards are big with our kids right now. The older 2 are getting to where they can understand Uno, Phase 10, stuff like that, strategic card and color games, and so we do a lot of that in our house, just to turn the TV off and do something fun, without being distracted by anything else.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I can't take any credit for it. It's all her. They're her ideas. She loves escape rooms. We're going to do actually like a legit escape room on one of her weekends off coming up. But like, hey, it's a blast, man. It's fun to sit down, like I said, just connect and talk and laugh and get to know one another. TV's off, and I like things that make me think and make me process and do, don't just sit and veg out sometimes. Too. And so it's incredible. Check them out. They're like $15 on Amazon. They're not all that expensive. There are a lot of shout out, no free shout outs. I'm not giving you any company names, mostly because I don't know them. but they're a lot of fun. I recommend the Chemical Lab one. I don't remember what it was called, but somebody's lab. So but my best of the week is the escape rooms in a box that are new to me, and they're a ton of fun. So Drew, what goes up must come down. We always start with the best for some reason. I guess we're starting on a good note, but hit me with your beef of the week.
This is typically not sports related, but I am going to pivot because nothing's griped me more than the Tennessee Vols.
I was considering this as my beef, dude. I got angry on Twitter about it today.
Listen, I don't want to be this way, but I can't help it. You know, I don't root for teams that play Ole Miss and then Tennessee goes and wins the College World Series. And it's not that bad. You know, once it's over, it's over. But they're one of those fan bases that you just know that, like, oh, now you thought it was bad. You thought the mouthiness was bad. Yes. They won that national championship. And now, for some reason, think the Memphis Grizzlies owe them Dalton Connect with the
ninth pick in the draft. It's the most asinine thing I've ever seen.
And I just laughed for a long time, and then it just kind of dawned on me at 3:00. Rusty tweeted it out this morning. He got his dose of it, his fix of it early this morning, and had to say something. And then this afternoon, I was just like, all these Tennessee fans wanting the Memphis Grizzlies general manager Zach Kleiman to cater to their fan base and draft Dalton Connect. Meanwhile, the Memphis Grizzlies head coach has a son that was in this draft, and they did not pick him. Yeah. And it was like on mock drafts that they liked Devin Carter. Yeah. And they were like, nope, sorry, Anthony. Sorry, dude. I know your son is really good. Mm-hmm. I know that you really want to like coach your son, I'm sure. But no, we're going to go get the big oaf. That's what we're getting.
That's it. We're getting the lug. I mean,
we're going to make you go see your son in Sacramento, California, when he could be in Memphis.
Yes,
in the other wing of your house. But sorry.
It's the most asinine, smooth brain thing I've ever seen, to sit there and think that a professional sport franchise with a GM who's paid millions of dollars to make critical decisions is going to say, I think we should draft somebody that makes a bunch of hillbillies on the other side of the state happy so that they'll sell tickets. Like, they don't even know we exist over here in Memphis. They're too good for Memphis and all this kind of crap. And like you said, like, just when you think a fan base can't be more obnoxious, they go and totally get worse, and they get mouthy. They get so mouthy. Like, it almost makes me wish that the Colt and their devious coach had won the national championship, because I can almost put up with pass it back Ags more than these bunch of smooth-brained hillbillies coming at the Memphis Grizzlies for not taking a guy that doesn't fit what we're looking to do.
Well, and I'm totally a hater, and I cop to that. The reason why I wanted Texas A&M to win is because I know a lot of Tennessee fans that I did not want to hear from.
Oh, so, and I've heard from all of them.
But we're going to get more into the draft. I do have a Dalton Connect take or two. And so we'll get into that with our second segment. Before we do that, Rusty, what is your beef of the week?
So other than asinine Tennessee Vol comments on time, getting fired up all over again, dude. I went in on that one guy, but anyway,
this show is likely to have a lot of fireworks.
Yeah, we just getting warmed up here, buddy. I think it's a problem a lot of people, most Americans have probably dealt with at some point in their life. I have bit the inside of the front of my lip right here, and like anytime I talk, anytime I chew, anytime I do anything, I catch that. So if y'all see me catch this tonight and make a face, like, just know that that pain. And it's got like a bump right there. And I don't know if I bit it in my sleep last night. Like, I don't remember biting it, but I got a hold of it one good time. And now there's this lump right here in the middle that keeps just like, it keeps getting in the way. And I was on the phone earlier with a colleague. We had a very serious conversation, and I bit it. I was like, and I almost said a bad word on the phone with one of my coworkers. I'm trying to be professional, and I bit my lip. And it's like that episode of The Office with Jim where he keeps biting his lip. Like, it's a common problem, and it's one of the most annoying things in the world. It's like your teeth like seek out that bump. Once you bit it once, like, you're going to bite it 37 times in the next couple of hours, and that's where I'm at. So if like y'all see me biting my lip or whatever, making a face, just mind your business. No, I'm suffering over here.
Again. we live very cushy lives.
I mean,
what
that's
they're
the worst
complaining
thing.
about. Just hit that home. Well, I feel like after that beef, we just really got to hit that home again. So that's
good,
a little
dude.
bit short of a first segment. But it's probably good for all you guys listening here because this second segment is NBA draft, and it was one for the ages last night. We're going to get into all of it in the second segment. We're going to talk Zach Edey. We're going to talk Dalton Connect. We're going to talk everything that happened in the first and second rounds of the NBA draft in this second segment. In the third segment, we've got a fun little Mount Rushmore.
Palate cleanser, like a little palate cleanser afterwards.
Yeah, we're going to
save it. It'll be good.
Yeah, and we're going to leave everybody go into your weekend on a happy note with our third segment. We've got a fun Mount Rushmore snake draft kind of thing we're going to do here. So bear with us. Lots more to come here on the $2 Sports Show. But before we get to the second segment, let me tell you about Vicky Gann, CPA. If the name sounds familiar, it is because she is my mother. Vicky Gann is a certified public accountant with over 25 years of experience. She can help you or your loved ones with any sort of IRS-related problem or service that you need. She can help you with income tax, tax preparation, payroll tax preparation. But her real bread and butter this time of year is QuickBooks. So if you or anyone that you know and love has a small business and uses QuickBooks or would like to start using QuickBooks, call Vicky Gann. She can help you get all of that set up and help you troubleshoot any problems that you have. So give Vicky Gann a call. Her phone number is 662-415-6446. And her email is vickyganncpa@gmail.com. That's vickiganncpa@gmail.com. Contact her, let her know you heard about her from the $2 Sports Show, and it'll make all of our days. So with that being said, we're going to get to our first break, and we'll come back with some draft show.
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays with, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. Right. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, but now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side.
Yeah.
His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward.
Right.
Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is are his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is now when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Who do you need to step it up? Outside of David Jones, I think David Jones is David Jones.
I don't think you need him to step it up because he's been performing.
Yeah, he's David Jones. Outside of him, he's fine.
I think Quinterly needs to play better.
In what way? He's facilitating the ball well. What do you I don't.
2 at 12 from the field's not cutting it.
It's not great. It's not great.
And I don't need a runner 3 from the top of the key with 3.5 seconds left.
Is Virginia the game where Jordan Brown is going to cook? Those dudes aren't looking to run the ball.
Cook what? Dude, I thought he was going to have a freaking night. He came out with that fresh cut, lined up, and then literally within the first 15 seconds missed a wide open layup, and then picked up 2 fouls right away.
I feel real lied to because I thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy.
Didn't think it did anything for you.
Well, I think
we all thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy. And we are getting that in David Jones.
I'm not even getting 20 or 10 minutes out of the guy.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show. As always, $5 a month gets you access to the Discord, bluffcitymedia.co. It's a great place to hang out with all the content creators you've seen on those, all 4 of those there, right? You got Brevin Knight, you got Anthony Sane, you got Tigers Untapped, you've got Daniel Greer for the Grizz 901 show, hop on that Discord, $5 a month, gets you access to a ton of content, as well as the content creators on this network that put this stuff out for y'all. Come hang out with us. Join the Discord. So, unless you were living under a rock last night, you know that the NBA draft happened. I'm sure many of y'all watched the Daily Grind over the last week and watched the excitement that Uncle Buck and I had for the NBA draft last night, only for it to be crushed and snatched underneath us from an ill-advised tweet that lasted for about 30 seconds of hope before everything fell apart and led to us wearing all black tonight as we try and mourn and figure out what exactly our Memphis Grizzlies are going to do after taking the number 9 pick last night. You know, Drew, when we talked with Luke earlier in the week, both, like, I don't think even Luke, who kind of took the stance of staying put, really thought we were going to stay put. And for a moment there, it didn't look like we were. It looked like we were doing everything we could to move up with Charlotte, because it was well known that our prime target was Donovan Clingan, and it was well known that he was not getting past Portland at 7 should he fall that far.
Yeah. So it was very tricky. You know, there were kind of two schools of thought, and it was either the Grizzlies are going to continue to be aggressive like they are in every draft, go from 9 to, it started out maybe 3, maybe 5. You know, Charlotte actually ended up being the hot topic during the draft on Wednesday night. And then the other school of thought was that you trade back, get some assets, and get somebody later in the draft that can help you. Nobody really thought they would just hang out at 9, and that's what they did. And so, you know, it was kind of a tumultuous, and in the moment, we did not handle it well. We were not big Edey fans, but I guess we've buried the lead. With the 9th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies did select Zach Edey, 7'4", big man out of Purdue. I made this Edey for the city. And so, you know, it's not what we wanted. I'm not going to like revise my stance now that he is now a Memphis Grizzly. What I wanted was Donovan Clingan. I wanted Reed Shepherd. I really liked Devin Carter. I really liked several guys, honestly.
I mean,
Ron Holland. And as the draft went on, just to start from the top, you know, the first 3 picks went chalk. You knew the writing was on the wall. You weren't going to get Reed Shepherd because the Houston was going to stick at 3. The Reed Shepherd was going to be off the board. And then at 4, you really started watching for Donovan Clingan. San Antonio went with Stephon Castle. 5 was the first huge surprise with Detroit taking Ron Holland, who I coveted if they were to stay at 9. That's who I was going to – if you were going to pick 9, that's who I wanted. So he was off the board. And you knew Clingan was off the board. You knew he wasn't going to make it to 9. But at that point, you're just like, okay, what happens now? And do you trade up to go get Clingan? He was the only one that I wanted at that time. 6 comes up. 6th pick is owned by the Charlotte Hornets. And Jake Fisher tweets out that the Grizzlies have made the deal. The one that we've been waiting on for weeks. They've moved up, and they're going to get Donovan Clingan. But you know, it's not true unless Woj tweets it out. So as soon as I saw Jake Fisher, I got excited. I sent it to Rusty, and then I went and checked Woj to see if Woj confirmed it, and he didn't. And that rumor lasted, like you said, about 30 seconds before Jake Fisher said, no, Charlotte, I was wrong. Charlotte's going to take the pick. They're going to get, I can't pronounce the saloon.
The Frenchman.
Tajik Shalon or whatever his name is. I'm not Rusty. I'm mispronouncing names.
I'm not even going to try it.
And Donovan Clingan was not going to get past 7. Portland, the graveyard for all 7-footers. The Portland Trailblazers drafted another 7-footer. Donovan Clingan, I really hate it for you because I really liked you. But you've gone to Portland where the
centers go to
Walton lost his career. You know, Greg Oden could not stay healthy. I mean, they just and now
Rob Williams on a smaller scale, he's not healthy, and you got DeAndre Ayton who's a bum. You're in a very crowded front court. It's just not a great situation for him, and it doesn't fit what they need. And Drew, not to steal your thunder a ton, but it just feels like it feels kind of like Verno made a really good point about this. Like, why did the Spurs trade out and why were they moving? Did you listen to his show today? Made a really good point. Like, it feels like that's what really set the draft into chaos because the Spurs were going to take that guy. He's a Frenchman to pair him up with Wemby, but because they couldn't get him, they decided to move on, trade their 8th pick. We couldn't trade up and get who we wanted. And so that's when the dominoes started falling in a really weird way. And ultimately led to the Memphis Grizzlies making the pick that we made.
Yeah. Well, and if the Spurs would have listened to me, and the Spurs are one of the best run organizations in basketball, I think they tilted, much like I was tilting, to make this a fantasy football draft parallel here. When the guy that you want gets picked, you spiral, and it takes a lot of willpower and quick centering of yourself to then make the next best decision without spiraling out of control. If I were the Spurs, if you wanted Salon or whatever he was, you should have taken him at 4.
Yeah.
And then that probably sets up a better trade partner than Charlotte for the Grizzlies to move up and get Klingon.
Yeah.
However, we get to the 9th pick and the Grizzlies take Zach Edey. We have lots of thoughts. We were not fans of Zach Edey, but we are fans of the Memphis Grizzlies. So I just want to say we're going to do a pros and cons here. And we're going to start with the cons because we want to leave this talk with the pros. And I believe there are plenty of pros for us to talk about. We've come along. And just remember, we're fans. We root for laundry here. We are Memphis Grizzlies fans. We have our own ideas. But me especially, I'm Team Kleiman. I still trust him. I think he knows what he's doing. And so I'm a fan of Zach Edey at this point. But I do have concerns, and we're going to be honest with them.
I didn't like Matt Barnes until he put on the laundry. I didn't like Lance Stevenson until he put on the laundry. And so I will root for Grizzly players till I die. Like I said in a group chat with us last night, like I said this morning, last night I tweeted it out. I'm going to mourn tonight, but tomorrow he's one of us, and I'm all in. Right. And so tonight is the only night that I'll say the negative things. I'm going to be objective in this section. I'm not looking to bash the guy because he's one of ours. He's a phenomenal college basketball player. His accolades take 2 swipes up on a Wikipedia page. I mean, he is such a decorated player.
Right.
But I'm going to be objective about it. And we're going to look at pros and cons. Like Drew said, one of our favorite shows is The Office. And anytime Jim Halpert makes a decision, he does a pros and cons list, much to the dismay of Michael Scott. And so we're going to make a pros and cons list tonight and see if we can talk ourselves into this pick that was Zach Edey.
Yeah, and part of this, too, is at 9, I was just kind of upset they were making a pick at all because the 3 guys that I had were off the board anyways. And it's kind of the point that I was going to make about Connect. It's like, that's the argument here, is like, do you take Connect? But anyways, we're going to start with the cons. We want to leave everybody on a good note, so we're going to start with a sour note. For me, everybody talks about his defense being a liability. For me, it's offensive. For me, it's a guy that is not quick, and we want to play fast. That's what Ja excels at. It's getting the ball off the rim, and it's going full speed, 4 verts down the court, getting in lanes, alley-ooping. And I just don't really see where he fits that. And so that's my biggest thing. Defensively, I think he unlocks Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot like Steven Adams did. However, he's going to get play off the court some. And so I think team need is what was first priority for the Grizzlies. I believe that, we talked about, do you draft team need? Do you draft best available? I believe that because of the pick that they made, that finding a center was number one priority in this draft for Zach Kleiman. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. And I think it is the biggest hole in our roster. And you've seen reports all day today and last night after he was picked from everybody that just said, listen, if you watched him work out, you left amazed. He put on a show in the gym and workouts. He dominated players to the point to where they even stopped. They threw in the towel a few times, just like, listen, this other guy's being actively hurt, and it's not right. for him to hurt his draft stock this bad for a workout in which we're focusing on the other guy. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that that is what they wanted. Now, it's not what I wanted. I wanted a high flyer. I wanted somebody like Khalil Ware or Donovan Clingan, who is, only a couple inches shorter than Zach Edey, but he could play above the rim a little more. He's more of an experienced passer. He's not doesn't have to be on the block. My problem with Edey is just like Steven Adams did this a lot, and I think it hurt us in a half court at times where you're just kind of standing on the block. And if Ja gets in a pick and roll, gets downhill, his guy's just standing there if he's not the one setting the screen. And if he's the one setting the screen, his defender is just going to be sagging off because he's not going to pop.
So that's one of the things he struggled with in college is finishing pick and rolls. He's going to have to get a lot better down the offensive side. I agree. He's a lane clogger on both ends of the court. More so, it's better on defense than it is on offense. He has absolutely no game outside of about 5 feet from the goal to score. Now, we made a living with Steven Adams there. Like, Steven Adams is a great offensive rebounder, and Zach Edey averaged about 5 offensive rebounds a game.
Good.
But
a good rebounder.
It reminded me a little bit of a Chris Wallace pick because he looked good at the combine. He worked out well. He had good numbers. His agility test, he tested out better than Donovan Clingan. He was faster than Donovan Clingan in the three-quarter court sprint. But like we were talking about earlier, watching him run is really awkward. It's not efficient, and it gives injury like shades that there's going to be some injuries down the road, whether it's a hip or a knee or a foot. He's just not an efficient mover, and it's hard to move efficiently. I get it when you're 7'4" and you're 299 pounds. The other thing, he doesn't have a ton of experience. He's only been playing basketball for 6 years. When he got to IMG Academy, he didn't play at all. It took him years to see the court. He didn't get a ton of big-time offers because there wasn't a lot of exposure, so he doesn't have a ton of reps. Now, that could be a pro because he looks very polished against a bunch of college kids without a ton of experience. But, you talk about a plug-and-play guy, and I think we might have got a couple plug-and-play guys later that we'll talk about towards the end of this segment. There's a lot of growth that still needs to happen. He's one of those guys, I've said this on Twitter, I've said this all along. To me, it's shades of Bryant Reeves because he was a dominant college basketball player against less than competition. And is it going to translate to the NBA? Drew, it's not 1995. The offense doesn't run through centers anymore. Now, that's one of my cons. I'm going to use it as a pro here in a minute as well. But today's NBA is not back people down and dunk on them like Shaq used to do. It's not bring the ball up, find your center, and let him go to work. It's so much more motion and movement. If Edey can figure out how to finish pick and rolls, he'll be an incredible asset for the Grizzlies. But he's got to figure out how to do that. And he didn't show a ton of that in Purdue because he can set a massive screen. When you're 7'4", 299, you better be able to set screens. It's just what do you do after that, right? Or then are you just dead in the water because you set a pick and there's nothing else to do and you just stand there like you said, and then your man can sag off and then Ja doesn't have any open looks. And so you're right. When we play teams, we didn't draft him for teams like Dallas because he'll get cooked by more athletic bigs like Gafford and Lively. We didn't draft him for OKC to play against Chet and them because Chet is better in space. And so smaller bigs are going to give him trouble on the defensive end. He's going to have a hard time with Wemby, who moves really well in space, because he's not going to do well. But if we can run him in like a drop coverage with Jaren or with some of these bigger wings, Jaren won Defensive Player of the Year with Steven Adams playing drop coverage and backing off and letting Jaren do things. So it can feed Jaren really well. We just got to figure out if that's within his skill set defensively.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with most of what you're saying. I don't think I'm going to go as far as saying he won't be good because I think for the reason
I never said he won't be good. I never said he won't be good.
Certain aspects,
he's got to figure. He's got a lot of growth to be good in certain aspects.
And to me, part of the reason why I'm almost encouraged that he hasn't played basketball that long is because you see how good he's gotten in 6 years.
Like I said, that's a con and a pro for me.
Gary Parrish on the Gary Parrish show today had on Matt Painter, who is the head coach at Purdue, who developed basically taught Zach Edey everything he knows and turned him in to a top 10 pick in the NBA draft and a 2-time college player of the year. And he was just like, listen, like he can learn. He has gotten good. You know, honestly, what he's going to have to get better at is passing the ball. I mean, that's just a fact. And that's one thing that they really focused on when he came back for a senior year is passing the ball out of the top of the key, because he had to learn how to deal with double teams because he was getting double teamed all the time. So I think that was my cons going into it. I don't really like the fit. I don't really like the pace in which he plays. And I don't like that he can't stretch the floor. That was my cons. I've got a lot of pros.
Before we move on, I got a couple more things. You know, Verno brought up a really good point. Like in the NBA, old centers, and I use that term loosely, you know, experienced centers coming in later, like with 3 or 4 years of college experience, they don't pan out very well. Bryant Reeves being one of them. You look at all the playoff teams, right? You've got guys like Lively, who was one and done, Embiid, who was one and done, Jokic is overseas. You got a lot of guys that came in without a ton of college experience. Most of them are 1 or 2 years. Al Horford would probably be the only exception in this year's playoffs. And so there's you know, it's not superstition, but history stuff like this matters. It usually kind of works out that way. So he's got a body of work that he has to overcome from that aspect. He has to be able to kind of buck that trend that has not been done in a very long time. And so that scares me. Like you said, he's not great at being like playing above the rim. And also he's not super great at closeout. Now he's got a massive wingspan and it helped on a smaller court against smaller players, but getting beat in space is going to be tough for him to recover on an NBA court against NBA athletes.
Yeah, see, I don't know how much I agree with that. I do believe, you know, just that overall speed hurts when you're closing out or recovering. I get that. But that is made up by a 7'9" wingspan more times than not.
Maybe.
You look at Wemby, you know, and that he is not nearly as athletic as Wemby. There's a reason why Wemby was the number 1 pick last year and unanimous rookie of the year this year. He's a freak. But the wingspans are comparable, and you just see how far you can contest and change shots.
Yeah.
You know, if you've always got a foot in the lane, you know, you can stretch. You know, that is an asset, and that is the perk of being tall. Now, I do believe he has some about his game that is more than just tall for nothing. You know, he's an animal. He's a dog. I love his mindset. I love the tenacity that he plays with. He does have a lot of heart.
The interview after the Final Four game where he said, "We're just blinking winners." Like, give me that, man. Give me that dude on my team right now.
I love that mindset. That mindset meshes with our team's mindset, our mojo. That fits right in line with John Morant, and I love it. It fits right in line with Desmond Bain. They're just dogs. Marcus Smart. We've got a team full of dogs, and I like it. I like that. Like the most persuasive argument I had was from Zach Kleiman, and he said that it is something that teams have to prepare for. And he is that. Just like we say, the con that there's going to be situations where he gets played off the floor. Well, 4-time defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, gets played off the floor routinely. But I believe this pick, the case to be made for this pick is it for me. We drafted for positional need. We did not draft for a superstar. We could have went with Devin Carter or somebody that had superstar potential. But they decided that Ja was great with Steven Adams, so they just went and got supersized Steven Adams. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And he's going to set huge, aggressive, illegal screens that will not look illegal because he's 7'5".
Yeah.
Okay. And he's going to open up the lane for Ja that way. He's going to get Ja a running lane. He's going to finish a lot because he's never played with this type of passer that John Morant is. I mean, Purdue was not picking off the top of the barrel. Matt Painter does an incredible job at Purdue getting teams to the Final Four routinely with players that nobody else wanted when we're talking about blue bloods wanted,
Yep.
And so he's going to be in the best environment for him that he's ever played in.
Yeah.
He is he's going to put back a lot of shots. He's going to be a vacuum underneath the goal for rebounds, offensive and defensive. And if he's the one that's getting the lion's share of rebounds and passing ahead, well, then I'm not as worried about him in transition anymore because he's going to be behind the play anyways.
As Josh
would be nice if
somebody on the other end.
Now, it would be nice if he could trail and hit a top of the key three at some point in his career. And I'm sure that's going to be the first thing he works on.
At the combine, he was 14 for 25 on catch and shoot threes, which for 7'5" is not awful.
For anybody, that's over 50%. You know, and he's good at shooting free throws. So that's kind of a marker of who could potentially learn to shoot threes. That's what they look at is a free throw percentage. And for a 7'5" guy, he's shoots around 70-ish% from the free throw line. And he's clutch free throws. Yeah. He shot more free throws than anybody in college basketball last year. That's another thing that you think about is he is a big body. He is somebody that Joel Embiid will have to foul to keep from scoring. Like he is going to eat up the team's center's fouls on a routine basis. And so you look at, that was Jaren Jackson Jr. last year. And in times of his career when he's guarding the 5, where he just did not yet have the muscle to bang with an Embiid or a Jokic, that he was fouling. Well, that is going to be Zach Edey shooting those free throws now. He's going to eat up a lot of fouls for the other teams.
And he doesn't foul a lot because they were asking him to play 37, 38 minutes a game, and he averaged 2 fouls in 38 minutes. And they told him, don't foul because our offense, our whole team flows through you. He's now going to be on a team where the offense doesn't flow through him, so he gets to be a goon. And he gets to bang with, and that's what one of my points was, he can bang with Embiid and Jokic and Gobert and these big Steven Adams, these big centers. He can go bang with those guys and cause them to foul. And the reality is he's probably going to be playing somewhere around 18 to 20 minutes a night. He's not going to be asked to play a ton because we're going to have Jaren in there. We're going to have BC in there. There's going to be a lot of lineups that we can throw out there on nights where we don't need him as much against smaller centers. He can go out there and just absolutely be a freaking menace on the court and keep people out of the lane, body up folks, wear people down, because it's just like in a boxing match. If you go to people's body, they're going to be tired. And so you got guards going in, and if he can get 3 or 4 fouls in 30 minutes, 20, 25 minutes, he's going to wear out some of these guys that are not going to be as excited to go attack the rim. They're going to lose their legs, and they're going to get tired. And so he can be that enforcer, if you will, for us that gets us, gets an advantage over the other team by wearing them out. I
agree with all that. Let me talk about your rotation, because you brought up rotation as something that I'm interested by too, and it's the reason why I believe that they just went positional need. They went team need with Zach Edey, and it ended up being controversial, but only because it was the 9th pick. If they would have made that pick at 14 and traded back and took Edey, it would not be controversial. But it's controversial because you took it at 9. And it's only controversial because nobody mocked it there, and that's all we look at is mock drafts. But they went positional need. They needed a center. They loved Edey. They got Edey at 9. They just took him. It was just sometimes it's just as simple as that. Yeah. So, but what that allows them to, I think it's a vote of confidence in Brandon Clark too. Yeah, because if they go 100%. And get Khalil Ware, then that's Brandon Clark's replacement. I mean, Brandon Clark is then. He may start, but the guy of the future is Khalil Ware if Khalil Ware works out.
Because he catches lob, he's got bounce.
And so you drafted him at 9, but you're not necessarily depending on him to play 35 minutes a game because, like you said, you can go and have him in there early in the game to bang and to do whatever else. But if it's a nip-tuck game and he gets played off the court, that's fine. We'll just go small. The per 36 minutes, the plus minus, everything favors a Jaren Brandon Clark lineup anyway.
100%. It's one of the best in the league.
They're one of the best 2-man duos in the league when they're healthy and playing together.
Yes.
And so it is just positional need, and that's what I've had to keep telling myself when I'm down that they didn't get one of the 3 guys that I wanted, and they didn't because they couldn't make the trade work to get Klingon. They were never going to get Holland or Shepard.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that they just did the smart thing. I think.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
got a
they
few
made a
things.
smart, sensible move.
I got a few things, if I may, that I think will also help convince our faithful listeners that he's a good pick. So you talk about like what we struggle with, right? Rebounding, pick and roll, and half court offense, rim offense. As much as today's NBA, it lives and dies by the 3, championships are still won at the rim. The team who can protect the rim and score at the rim is going to win late in the season. So there have been 2 players in the NCAA since 2008 that have a career plus minus of 10 or better while shooting 75% at the rim with at least 500 shots. Both of them play for the Memphis Grizzlies. All I'm saying with that stat is that he is an elite rim scorer, something that we have been terrible at. So bad, in fact, that we have been in the bottom 3 positions of rim scoring in the last 4 seasons. So he immediately comes in and makes us better at that. Immediately. Yeah. So, like, it's a weird stat, but he's good at something we're not at.
It's going to be – it was a lot of hook shots in college. It's going to be all putbacks.
That's fine. I mean, and he can still hit that hook shot against a lot of these smaller centers that he's going to be playing against. He's going to have that ability. Every year in college, kind of going back to what I said earlier, it's a con. He hasn't played very long, but it's a pro because his points per game his freshman year was 8.7, 14.4 his sophomore year, 22.3 his junior year, and 25.2 this past year. That's a massive progression and showing that he's still learning how to use his body, score in space, be that big offensive player that we need. You know, you talk about Klingon, and yeah, there's probably an argument to be made here that UConn just said, look, Edey, you're going to do your business and nobody else is going to beat us. But he still gave Klingon 37 and 10 in the title game and made him look pedestrian by backing him down, banging with Klingon, scoring over him, getting rebounds. Klingon had 11 points and 5 rebounds in that game. Absolutely gave him work. And the nice thing too, Drew, is he did all this having to be the man while playing 37 minutes a game last year. We're not going to ask him to do that. Our offense is not going to run through him. At best, he's going to be the 4th or 5th, maybe even 6th option to score. We just need you in there to set picks, get put back bunnies, and grab rebounds. And so imagine what he can do without having that load on him, right? He's not going to have that huge demand and a lot of miles on the tread by the time we get to the playoffs because he's not having to beat and bang for 37 minutes like he did in college. NBA season is a long season, and we can then like play him in situational games to where we can rest him a little bit and have him ready for a playoff run next year, which would be a great topic for a future playoff about how we don't need to be killing ourselves early in the season to prepare for the playoffs. But I don't know how it's going to work out. I really don't. Like, he's probably the most polarizing player in this year's draft, maybe even in a lot of recent drafts, because there's people that think he's going to be awesome. There's people that think he's going to be a bust. And if he's good, if he's like just a good NBA role player, then both of those camps will be right. And we got we actually got a really good pick at number 9. For the first time in Zach Kleiman's career as the Memphis Grizzlies GM, he really he didn't trade up. Like, he tried, but we didn't trade up. We actually picked where we were supposed to. I think it could end up being good. I've almost talked myself into it. And the number one reason why is a Twitter account that I follow. I think you follow him too, a big fan of him. The Zodiac GM gave it an A+ because he is a Taurus. He has an A+ synergy grade, and he fits well with Bane and Triple J. Call me John Roser, man. It's just funny to me. Like, the Zodiac GM gave it an A+, and all these people, Yahoo Sports is giving it a D. Like, they gave the lowest grade outside of Memphis that Yahoo Sports gave was a B-. They gave Memphis a D for picking Zach Edey at 9. Yeah, we keep receipts. It's fine. Give us a chance. Like, I really think he's a kind of a plug-and-play guy. He is older, but he's got a lot of experience, and that tells me he might be mature enough to step right into this lineup and fit in. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up, is he's going to complement Jaren really well and give Jaren the freedom to move around and play in space. And he's going to be exactly what Steven Adams was, but bigger. You know, he can take on those big bodies to let Jaren get out in space and work and defend and roam, where we both know he is at his absolute best is when he is ball hawking. And so if you can put Edey towards the paint, he's not going to be able to camp out in the lane like you did in college. They'll call him on that defensive 3 seconds all the time.
You're right.
But if he can figure out how to move in and out of the lane and stay low and give Jaren the opportunity to roam, Jaren can be back in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation really quick. Edey can make a really solid career as an NBA big, and it instantly makes us better at rim protection. And what we like, the thing we struggled with the most last year, we got doubled up in rebounds more often than not. And this is going to help tremendously with putbacks off of Ja, misses on driving layups, Dez missing threes, different things that happen. Edey can clean up a lot of that for us just by sheer size, because good luck if he gets his position and he gets set on the block, good luck moving him, right? Good luck getting him out of there, because one of the greatest loads in NBA history in the post, Shaquille O'Neal came out and said, look, I'm going to call him Zaquille O'Neal and watch him work next year.
Yeah. I think what's gotten me into buying in is just not paying attention to where he was picked. Yeah. Because I know it was not pick, and I know it was polarizing for talking heads on Sports Center, on ESPN and wherever. I get it. They got a job to do. But if you just think about him, a role that he can play, then I get it. I see it. Yeah. It's not what I would have done, but I can see it, and I'm hopeful. And I put all my trust in that front office and in Taylor Jenkins that they can continue to develop him just like they develop Vince Williams, G.G. Jackson Jr., all the other two-ways that get massive contracts, know? Yeah. So I am hopeful.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that's going to be like, he's going to keep receipts about all this negativity that he's getting, because again, man, I just go back to that interview after the Final Four. He's like, they don't know us. They thought they know us, but they don't know us. We're hard workers. We're dogs. We're in winners. And give me that attitude, because everybody says his work ethic is through the roof. His IQ is through the roof. He's hungry, and he's barely tapped his potential. Yeah. I'll take that, man.
The Memphis Grizzlies fans have a lot of scar tissue for getting college player of the year that are 7'2", that are very high in the draft, and that's Hasheem Thabeet. He is not Hasheem Thabeet. Hasheem Thabeet had a motor problem. This dude does not have a motor problem.
Everybody
likes to tell the story that Hasheem Thabeet 30 minutes before the game was eating a hot dog with melted cheese on it. This isn't Zach Edey. He wants it. He's going to get better. He's going to contribute to this team. And at very worst, he's going to set some good screens. He's going to get a lot of rebounds, and he's going to play a role on this team that we need.
If nothing else, man, everybody knew Hasheem Thabeet was going to suck. Nobody thinks Zach Edey's going to suck, but he may not be, nobody thinks he'll be a superstar either. But this will harken to a lot of our Memphis Tiger fans out there. If he's a Joey Dorsey that has me 6 points, but 18 rebounds and 10 blocks, if he has a double-double with blocks and rebounds, then he's doing everything that we don't do well, right? Jaren doesn't rebound, but he blocks shots. And you got two guys that are, getting a lot of blocks. You can get into the analytics that, yes, he doesn't get a ton of steals like Tripp does, and that can be a withdrawal. But the guy, just protect the rim, man. Don't get handsy. That's it. He doesn't reach. Yeah. Protect the rim. In climbing we trust. I told Drew if I taught myself into it, I'd turn the hat back around and represent the M. I think Edey for the city is going to be a great pickup for us. And he's going to be a good role player. I don't think he's going to be an all-NBA player. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. But he's going to be one of those guys, much like a Zebo that came in and he's our guy. He's our guy. I'm all in. I'm in his corner. I want to root for this cat, and I'm going to go watch him prove everybody wrong. And he's going to bang with the best bigs in the NBA, and I'm going to be a big Zach Edey fan.
Yeah. And, they took him at 9, and at 9, I don't know what I wanted them to do anyways. Yeah. I was just team no Edey. If I'm being honest, I'm not that anymore. And at 9, the only other thing that you could have done is Devin Carter or Dalton Connect. And so
anybody else would have been more of a reach.
Maybe at that point I found my Connect where I would have taken Connect at that point. But I'm all in on Zach Edey. We're all in on Zach Edey. The two Bucks are in on Zach Edey because we are Grizzlies fans, and we never root for bad outcomes for our Memphis Grizzlies.
And plus, you can also have the real quick last thing. You can have a couple great nicknames. The Big Maple, because he's from Canada.
Yeah.
Shaq Edey is also another solid nickname. I'm here for it. let's root for the guy. And you know, you can transition. Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for Luke Kennard because we got 2 older sharpshooters in Thursday's second round.
You think that means anything for Luke Kennard? Because to me, when you take a guy at, you tell me what Fast Break says in a minute because I do value Keith's opinion on that. He does pay attention to the money stuff. But when you take a guy, I don't remember where the first guy was taken. I guess that was 39. And then a guy at 50, they traded up to 53 for Cam Spencer.
Yeah, that's right.
Those guys I think are both going to be two-way guys.
Yeah, I agree. A couple fans were tweeting at Fast Break right after it happened, after Cam Spencer was selected, and they said, "Does this mean what we think it means for Luke Kennard?" And he responded simply, "Yes." That the writing's on the wall.
I don't think that drafting Cam Spencer was the nail in the coffin, though.
No, I think it was Jalen Wells.
Probably already done.
It was Jalen Wells, kind of like yes, it was probably decided. I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall when Marcus Smart. They came out in a very firm stance that we were keeping Marcus, and nothing has been said about Luke. Yes, he's under another year on his contract, but it needs to be renegotiated if it's going to work. I think that we were waiting to see what we could do, and then we did.
It's a team option. It's a team option.
That's right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
They've got, I think, 3 or 4 days by the time you guys are listening to this on Friday for them to make a decision on whether or not they're just going to pick up the option and he's a Grizzly next year, or to decline the option and let him enter unrestricted free agency.
And that doesn't do us any good, especially if we can do a sign and trade where we can offload him and a couple of our dead weight wings, boneless wings, and move some picks and assets. Because this is where it's going to get interesting. Because now, what are we going to do to lessen that we're pressing up against the apron? What are we going to do to kind of bring us back down to earth a little bit? Luke makes the most sense to get him moved, particularly with a couple of these guys. And I do want to talk about Jalen Wells for just a minute, and I'll let you talk about Cam Spencer. I kind of deep dived on him. I'd heard his name. I just remember in the last Pac-12 tournament we're ever going to have, he absolutely cooked. He averaged almost 20 points a game in the Pac-12 tournament before they got put out, and kind of helped Wazoo on a decent run. But he's a 44% career 3-point shooter, and he's 6'7", he's 205. So he's a big body who can shoot, who can move really well. He was 44% from 3 as a spot-up shooter, and 42% on catch and shoot. So on kickouts, dribble drives, 42% catch and shoot. Absolute monster. He's a dog on defense. He averaged a steal and a half per game to just under 1 turnover per game. So he takes care of the basketball, but he absolutely goes and gets it. Again, 6'7", 205 is a big, long frame that can be a problem in passing lanes. Averaged 12.8 points per game last year, almost 5 rebounds per game as a guard last year as well. And probably part of that is he's 6'7". The biggest thing that everybody said about him is he's just a relentless worker. He has a motor that never quits. And again, Drew, like you were talking about, I will take a team full of high motor guys. He started at a Division II school, he walked on to a D2 school, worked up, walked on at Wazoo, ended up being a cannot miss player for Washington State. They couldn't take him out of the lineup because he absolutely cooked. The only thing, the biggest negatives that I've seen about him is he can be a bit passive on offense. He's a great shooter, but sometimes he kind of gets the ball and he looks to pass too quickly. Guys, you're a lethal sharpshooter. You got a quick release, you can knock it down. He's also athletic enough to where if he catches that ball and he's got some space with a hard closeout coming, he can hit an up fake and he can get to the rim with authority. So I like the pick. We found some success late first, early second round, with some of the players that we've drafted over the years. And that's kind of that time frame where we got Dez and Gigi and those guys. As much as you can like a second round pick, I like it. I think he's got potential. He's older. He's 20 years old. So, he's definitely a team need. He's a shooter. He's got some maturity. And I'll take that work ethic and that dog-like mentality on my team every day.
Yeah. The only downside is, he averages 1.2 assists per game and a half a steal and block added together per game. And so for a 6'7" guy, defensive activity is something that I worry about a little bit. But that's something, you get in there with the 39th pick, they're not ever fully formed players. You got to teach them some stuff. So I like him. I like Cam Spencer. We're TJ McConnell fans. For we just really like TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
But no, for real, Cam Spencer, he stuck out to me in the run that UConn made this year because he was a very good role player. He was a sharpshooter, but he was, we talked about Zach Edey's personality on the court. Like, this dude's a dog, and he doesn't look like one. he can be a wolf in sheep's clothing because the dude, him and Reed Shepherd both look like accountants, but I mean, he's got an attitude with him, and I love it. And I love the fact that they just went and got a guy that can shoot threes. He is for his career, he's a 40% 3-point shooter. And last year at UConn, where he was playing on an awesome team and got plenty of open looks, which he will get if he ever plays with John Morant, he shot 44% from 3 last year. He shot 91% from the free throw line. He's just a shooter. And so I like it. I like taking a shooter. It's the most valuable skill that you can have as an NBA player.
All right, off the cuff, this is unrehearsed. If you had to give it a letter grade, what would you give? I've got one in my head. What would you give our draft performance over the last 2 days?
All in all?
All in all. You count all 3 picks, where we picked them, what we did. How would you rate our draft performance? I've got one off the top of my head. How would you go?
I would say a B, because I think to get above a B, like a B plus or an A or A plus, you've got to like get a talent that can really raise the collective ceiling, and I think we were very smart and practical in the draft more than we were very showy, I think it was a solid draft in which you weren't sexy at all. You were controversial, but you were not sexy at all. You filled team need, took a couple flyers late that could work out, and if they do, you're going to look back at the 2024 draft and be like, that was an A,
Yeah, and I agree. I was like a borderline B minus, but you're right. It's a B. We addressed team need. We did it in a very unsexy way, and I think that's why everybody was upset. But me, as a realist and a practicalist, or I'm very practical. Like when we were talking about it, I wanted to trade back to keep like picks and that kind of stuff. I think picking where we were supposed to, we ended up trading up 4 spots at the end of the second round. Big deal. But picking where we picked, we didn't, go mortgage the farm to get Donovan Clingan. We were smart with our assets. We still own all 7 of our next first round picks. We've got opportunity to move some of them now to maybe get like another vet big. I still wouldn't hate getting one more piece in the front court, coming off some of the boneless wings, maybe getting a score. Either one would be fine.
I still want a second point guard, a definite second point guard.
I'm telling you, man, I'm not going to sleep on Scottie Pippen Jr. We got a long time to talk about this, but I'm not going to sleep on him.
He's going to be a 2-way guy to start the season. So I'm
sure, and that makes it even better.
But I'm not factoring in, when I say a second point guard, I cannot say that our best option as a backup point guard is a guy that can only play 20 games for the Grizzlies. Like,
I genuinely think we're going to have another situation where about 3/4 to the season, he's going to get a deal like Vince and Gigi, and he'll be our number 2 point guard.
I will recalibrate my depth chart at that point. I'm not going to bank on a 2-way guy being our backup point guard yet. So
I've got
hating. That's not hating on Scottie Pippen Jr. It's just he's not a rostered. He's not in the 12-man Grizzlies roster.
Maybe these 2 that we picked, Cam Spencer can handle the ball. Maybe these are some 2-way contracts to get us to the point where we can get Scottie Pippen on a perm deal. I just think we're going to look up at the end of the year and we're going to have Scottie Pippen Jr. playing a ton of minutes as we head towards the playoffs. Might be wrong, and maybe we go get one, and I wouldn't be mad if we did. I just think we've got that. I think me personally in free agency, I'd still like to see us. I'd rather see us go more of one more big or a wing scorer who's consistent and come off of some of our dead contracts. So,
and the last thing I'll say, and we'll get to the third segment unless you want to button it up with one last thought. But the last thing I'll say is I've said it on this show a lot. I always respect general managers who act on their convictions regardless of what public opinion is. And public opinion was extremely bipolar for Zach Edey, and Zach Kleiman knew that when he made that pick, but he had a conviction about him. And instead of trading back and risking it, just go get your guy. Zach Edey was his guy. I respect that.
And I'm going to tell myself,
last thing I'll say,
and I'm going to tell myself that he stuck to his guns. and that Charlotte came at him and said, hey, we need Vince or we need Gigi or we need to sweeten this deal a little bit more. And he said no and hung up the phone. So I'm going to tell myself that's what he did. And he went with the guy who 3 weeks ago it came out that we were pretty high on and that he liked Memphis. So that's what I'm going to tell myself. Go Zach Edey, man. Let's go.
Yeah. So y'all stick with us through our last break here. We're going to come back. We hope that we are wrong about Zach Edey, and to prove to you guys that we have been wrong before, we're going to give you our Mount Rushmore of things we've been wrong about. So stick with us in this 2-minute break. We're going to confess our sins in our third segment here. So stick with us. We'll be back on the other side of the show, on the other side of the break.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man to say, this is how we think we're gonna play you, bang, 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 and hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game. Right. All of us, to the last person on the bench, you got an ego, but all of us can't be the man. Yeah, you got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly what. And if I'm out there doing it, and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping this logo. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. All right, Christian.
Yes.
You are Penny Hardaway.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Today, you're going to play act. Okay? Gabe, because you're a Jordan Brown apologist, you're going to be Jordan Brown.
I'm a Jordan Brown apologist. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Y'all are sitting across the room from each other.
I said, don't tweet him hate. And he's like, you're an apologist. Like, good God. But either way, continue. We're in a room together.
Why did things break down?
Jordan, we brought you in this year to be the centerpiece of our offense. You came in out of shape. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. We play fast. Told you this when we were recruiting you. We play fast. One of the fastest paces in the country. You have to be able to get up and down the floor. You have failed at that.
Oh, well, I'm leaving. So it's fine. Cool.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show for our final segment. As my illustrious co-host alluded to before we headed to the break, it's not common, but the $2 can be wrong on occasion. And so we want to spend the last little bit talking about things that we were once wrong about that we've since come around to. Initially, we were against these things. Now we are for these things, much like the recently acquired Zach Edey for the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Uncle Buck, I'll let you go first, sir. It was your idea. I'll give you the first topic. So you're up first. What is the first thing that you were wrong about that you are now feeling?
Okay. So for starters, this is Grizzlies related. My first statement that I was wrong about. Steven Adams is a brainless goon.
Yep.
That was the first thing that I will confess to everybody that I was happily wrong about.
Hated the guy in Oklahoma City. Hated the guy.
I thought he was a goon. I genuinely thought he was just an enforcer.
Absolutely. Hated the dude. My first one is obvious if you've been watching this show, and it's Game of Thrones. For the longest time, I thought it was the goofiest, just dragon. Like, it was like an adult Harry Potter, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And I will confidently admit that I was dead wrong. What a phenomenal show. Phenomenal show.
It's so good. He just saw Joffrey die, and it's the most satisfying thing in the world. As far as like watching children die, like it's definitely number one.
Absolutely. And it's funny because like right before we watched it, Maggie and I were eating, and she was like, so who do you think is going to make it to the end of the show? And I'm like, well, based on how this show goes, the more evil they are, the longer they last. I think Joffrey's going to be there till the end. And 30 minutes later, he's choking out on the
you
stage.
knew why she asked you. She's got to be more careful about how she asks her questions. She set you up.
And you should
have saw it coming.
I had no clue, man. I had no clue it was coming. So yeah, Game of Thrones is my first one.
All right, my second one. This is everybody will agree with me on this one. Minivans are stupid. I was wrong. Minivans are amazing.
Yeah.
I got 4 kids. And I'm telling you, those rolling doors and a DVD player, it changed my life, people. There's so much space in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got heated and cooled seats, and I know you can get that on most things, but you gotta have more minivan when you're carrying kids around. Your back hurts, you know.
Yeah. My mama had a Dodge Caravan. She put 300-something thousand miles on. We drove all over the Southeast for baseball tournaments in that thing. I am pro minivan.
Yeah. So I think back, there was a guy when I was in high school who used to drive a van around, and everybody was like, "Oh, look at him in his minivan." I think he may have been on something. Even as a high school, if you're a high school student, I'd still, you're turning 16. It's time for you to buy your first vehicle. Just give a minivan a spin. You can carry all your friends.
Yeah. Shout out to Frankie at Kasuth. He had one in my brother's class. He had a little white minivan. For me, number 2, it's coffee. Growing up, I thought coffee only smelled good. I hated it. I thought it was awful. My brother and my mama drank it, and I'm like, y'all are the weirdest people. And then I got to college, and then I got to PT school, and I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to work through PT school. So I didn't take out as many loans. I was working 2 jobs. I was studying. I was trying to make it through, and I was drinking way too many energy drinks. And that's when people started dropping dead from. And I was like, you know what? I might want to find a different option. And so turns out I just didn't like bad coffee. Like I started drinking like good coffee and grinded beans and kind of really got into it. And I'm pro coffee. I can't go without it now.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things like other drinks that we've experienced in our life. It's an acquired taste, you know? Sure. I was bullied into coffee. I used to drink coffee, but I was like, oh, drink coffee just to say I drink coffee. But it's really just a whole bunch of cream and sugar, you know? Yeah. I really just liked hot hazelnut creamer is what it came down to. And then I was bullied by an old friend that I worked with into drinking black coffee to the point where I couldn't listen to him make fun of me anymore for putting creamer in my coffee. So I started drinking it black and hated it until I liked it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like people who spend $8 on coffee, like you got too much money, man.
That's it. Like all my coworkers make fun of me. Yeah, all my coworkers make fun of me. Like, all right, we're gonna make a coffee order. What do you want? And I'm like, I just want black coffee. I just want a large black coffee. And they're like, I'm sorry, you're weird.
Did you say you were making a coffee run or a dessert run?
Exactly.
You said coffee, and so I would like coffee.
I want a large black coffee. I don't need.
How would you like your coffee? I'm sorry. Was it not descriptive enough when I said coffee?
My roommate here, I did him a solid and said, Craig, I would like to buy you coffee today. We were working at our previous job in Martin. What would you like? And he made me bring him this frou-frou drink. I had to walk across the parking lot with a drink that had cold foam on top of it. Like, there's going to be people curious as to which one is mine.
I handed it to a grown man.
Grown man. I'm walking across the parking lot like this. Like, I've got it. Like, I'm like, nobody see this. Nobody see this.
Oh, he's being so sweet, taking his wife some coffee. Nope.
That's it. Nope.
This is Craig. Taking it to Craig.
The Craig. Come on, Craig.
The Craigs went to go get coffee, and the weenie got dessert.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh man. So my next thing I was wrong about was something that I told my wife when I was in the process of making her my wife. I said, honey, I don't want kids for a year.
How long was it, Drew?
Well, we got married December the 4th in 2020, and Santa dropped off 2 chillins at our house on March the 31st of 2021. So we made it almost 4 months, and I don't think I was wrong for saying I want to wait a year. I didn't say I don't want kids. That would have been obviously wrong. I still think my heart was in the right spot. You know, much like Zach Edey.
Sure.
I know what I wanted. Now, it turns out that what was given to me was much better than what I wanted. And the good Lord works like that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, they say, you know, tell God your plans and he laughs.
Watch him laugh.
That was it. You know, he gave us 2 kids that you could offer me $100 bazillion for, and I wouldn't give them both up. Maybe one. But, and so like, so we made it 4 months into marriage without kids.
Yeah.
But then immediately it was like, this is the best thing ever. We're going to have one of our own and then another one.
Yeah.
So,
and more to come.
Yeah. But that's probably the thing I was most wrong about in my life was thinking like, hey, I want to wait a year and travel and see the world as a newly married couple. It didn't happen.
For me, only weirdos get pedicures. I am pro pedicure. I'm telling you, man, like they massage your legs, they clean up your feet. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, man. I don't care. I was dead wrong on pedicures, man. I'm not gonna drink cold foam, but I'm gonna go let somebody rub my feet for me.
Might as well. I mean,
man. You're missing out. Clearly, you have not had one. You are missing out. You're in the same place that I was. Like, what is this grown man talking about a pedicure for? But I'm telling you, until you experience it, you don't understand. It is well worth the 30 minutes and like $20, man. I'm all in, dude. I'm
not doing it. And I'm not doing it because I'm too manly. I'm not doing it because I'm too ticklish.
That's it. I'm not ticklish, so I'm all in, man. I'll sit in that chair all day.
I don't want anybody touching my feet because I will act a fool. Like I'm just rolling on the ground like a 2-year-old laughing.
I am pro pedicure, man. You're missing out.
Yeah, I can't get on board with that. It is the principle a little bit, but even if you talk me into it with money and stuff, I wouldn't enjoy it because I'd just be squirming on the ground. It kind of goes against everything that this sports show believes in.
Oh boy.
But sports aren't everything. Like I've learned that in my life, and it's like I get it, and I live and die with this team, with these teams. Like it's not something I practice, but after the fact, after I'm bummed about Zach Edey getting drafted, or I'm bummed that Ole Miss loses, or I'm bummed after the Grizzlies lose. Like my 2-year-old runs up to me and gives me a hug, and it's like she don't care.
Yeah,
like it's just not. I mean, it's for fun. It's enjoyment. I love it. Yeah. It provides a nice little spark in life that I enjoy. But when it is not like everything anymore.
I agree. Last night when Zach Edey got picked, I was bummed. And as much as John Morant's Instagram story perked me up with the Rush Hour 3 clip, thought that was absolutely hilarious.
It was great. Whoever gave him that and said, tweet it.
Oh my gosh.
Very good.
You win, sir or madam. Well done. That certainly helped. But having Maggie there last night, like scratching my back and just being there for me when I was in a dark time, like she got a small taste of what that's like last night. So shout out to Maggie for sitting with me through that. Yeah, no, right. Especially after she listens to this and is like, oh, that's a small taste.
Yeah.
But shout out to Maggie for being there because you're right. Sports aren't everything, but they sure do suck sometimes in the moment.
Yeah. And I do get wrapped up and it does ruin my day. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you people that are weeping, like just remember what's important in life. That's not me. I don't practice this, but it's refreshing knowing that like I'll send my kids to bed. They love the Grizzlies. They love Ole Miss. We watch them together and it's bedtime and they're like, okay, well, just tell me who wins in the morning. And then they forget. And then they're just like, they just live the best lives because they don't let this ruin their lives,
And they're not stayed up till midnight to watch Memphis lose to the Golden State Warriors on a game that they should have won. And it's just like, I'm mad, I'm tired. And the next morning I'm even madder and I'm more tired.
So,
all right. Yeah. So you got sports. My next one is also another, it's a clothing item. I used to think Chacos were the weirdest freaking shoes, and anybody that wore them were weirdos until I got a pair. And they're the most functional. They're comfortable. I can kayak in them. I can walk around Memphis with them at an outdoor festival and not sweat to death. I can dress them up, dress them down. Like I'm not wearing them to church or out on a date or anything, but they're comfortable walking shoes. And after years of harshly ridiculing
not wearing man sandals,
bro, Chacos are legit.
Listen, I was pro Chaco pretty early, and for the reason why I'm pro most everything now, the functionality of them.
Absolutely.
And it's 1,000 degrees in Mississippi in the summertime.
Yes.
You were the hypocrite though that was anti-Chaco but pro Croc.
I'm still pro Crocs.
And so,
I have my fuzzy Crocs under here right now.
I was not hearing the anti-Chaco from you, Mr. Pro Croc. You know,
I know. On those kayaking trips, you would give me crap about my Crocs while I give you crap about your Chacos, and then I secretly bought a pair.
and Rusty, to his credit, was pro Croc before they came back into style.
I'm an A1 day one.
Kids, when I was a kid and he was a teenager, when Crocs came onto the market, it was everybody had Crocs.
Oh yeah.
And then they went away for a long time, and they were laughed at. Like, I can't believe we used to do that. And then they came back. Through that time where the Crocs the stock prices went down, Rusty is still just plodding along in them wet plastic, holy shoes.
That's it, man. And it's a camo pair. I buy a new one every 2 or 3 years. I buy a new pair of fuzzy Crocs every year because they get a little stinky because they're fuzzy. But, like, I love them, man. They got the fur on the inside. Keep your feet warm.
I know what you're talking about. You went to another level there.
I'm pro Croc. We're pro Croc.
Like, Ugg Crocs. I love Ugg Crocs.
Just Crocs.
This was probably the saddest one that I was wrong about. And if it's not on your list, it should be. Sure, I'll cut my hair. It'll grow back.
I shaved my head for so long thinking the same thing.
And then one day, it didn't.
Now I've got this little bald spot. This coming in right here front spot. I'm always wearing a hat. I'm a hat fish. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you.
So, I used to have long, luscious locks. When Rusty and I re-met each other back in 2014 or whenever it was, I had hair on my shoulders, if not past it, and it was curly. And I mean, it wasn't Jason Momoa, but it was fine. It was good, you know.
Yeah.
Fit my rock and roll lifestyle.
It did, man. It was giving meatloaf.
I tell you what, if I did it now,
oh
boy,
indeed. You would be on the People of Walmart website in a heartbeat.
So, sorry I had to take that one off your list because it should have been on it.
It should have been on it. It was an honorable mention along with, man, that Drew Gann guy sure is weird. But my last one is, I just don't have time for a dog. And for me, with no kids, Shelby's been one of the best investments, man. I forget. She is the most, like, in the history of mankind, there's never been a dog that's been fully diagnosed as autistic until this one. She is the most weird, like, she needs her space sometimes, and then sometimes she's all up in your lap, very manic, like bipolar, all the things, but it's the sweetest dog. And when she cuddles up in my lap or she comes and lays her head on my lap, it's worth every weird, anxious moment that she has. And she has been a bright spot to me in a time that I much needed her. And so for me, my last one is, I don't have time for a dog. I was dead wrong.
That was me. And for me, it was, I don't want to put in the work for a dog. Because when we got a dog, we had just had our baby girl, our third kid. And so we were bringing him in when we got him in like June. So she would have been like 4 or 5 months old. And I was like, are you telling me I'm going to have to worry about housebreaking a dog, crate training a dog, getting him not to chew on everything and scratch everything, and deal with a 2-month-old? I was like, it's just not enough. There's not enough reward in it for me to want to put in the work. And I was wrong about that, because that Ted is most of the time my favorite kid.
Most of the time, until he gets out and gets in the mud puddle.
No, I know. And so he just lays around in the floor. If anybody's got a family with kids that's listening to this and wants to get a dog, Bernedoodles are huge. Like, they're big dogs. So it may not be up your alley. But I'm telling you, if you want a docile, just a lazy family dog, go get you a Bernedoodle. I mean, he just lays in the floor, and anytime that my babies start crying, he like comes to me or stands right beside them until somebody comes. I mean, just a great family dog. So
and don't get a Doberman because they are a spaz.
So My only honorable mention was onions are gross.
Mm.
You know, as you
Wrong.
grow up, you're just like, yeah, put onion on it. Grill them up. Everything's good with an onion on it. I guess.
Batter them and fry them and
Yeah.
dip them in ketchup or ranch.
Right. That too.
Onion rings are where it's at. I was talking today about we had a conversation today about where the best onion rings are, and there's several good options. I'm like, I've yet to meet an onion ring I really didn't like.
Yeah. Buffalo Wild Wings has got a good onion ring.
Sonic has got solid because they've got that little bit of sweet
crunchy
batter that they put on. It's like crunchy. It's like a sweet onion batter. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, did you have any honorable mentions you want to mention before we close this down for the night?
I told you mine too. My hair was one of them, buzzing my hair all those years, and that Drew Gann sure is a weird guy.
Yeah, well, that's probably not a lie. You just
the
love
more I
me
think about
anyways.
it, the more I think about it, I'm still not wrong about that.
So, that's going to be it for the $2 Sports Show for this week. Lots of stuff going on. We have now, with the conclusion of this show, where we talk about the NBA draft, we are hitting the summer months, and so we're going to get a little weird. You're going to hear a lot of stuff like we've just done in this last segment. We're going to have fun. We appreciate everybody tuning in with us. Not so humble brag, I guess. Our views are going up. More people are watching this. We appreciate all of you for sticking with us. We know we're just a couple silly rednecks from Mississippi, and we appreciate you guys checking in with us every week. Feel free to holler at us, slip in our DMs, give us some ideas, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Give us some topics we can talk about this summer. But we can guarantee you that we will have fun. And we will be here every week for you.
Every week, we got Olympics coming up. It was funny. Maggie texted me today. She goes, "Hey, random thought. Are y'all going to record next week with the holiday?" Is water wet? Absolutely. We had not missed a week since November, what was it, the 10th of 2022. And we're not going to start next week because of a holiday. We may record on a different night. It'll still drop on Fridays. But you will get, good, bad, and different, you will get a $2 Sports Show every week.
We will probably record early. And I got a vacation coming up. We'll record early for it too. And
hey, we got the Olympics coming up, dog. We got fun stuff to talk about this summer.
We're
going to be all in on the Olympics. Y'all hang tight for some fun Olympic content because we are both, again, we root for laundry.
Team America.
We're Team USA, anything. And the Summer Olympics are friggin' awesome.
Yeah,
so
they're great.
Let's go. But thanks as always for tuning in. We appreciate y'all being here for an hour and a half, spending this Friday afternoon with us. Y'all are incredible. Thank y'all for listening. We love y'all, love our fans. Thanks for hopping in. We don't know why you're still here. Mama, and we get Mom, Maggie, Haley. We understand why y'all are here. The rest of y'all, we appreciate y'all as well. We'll see y'all next week. Remember, there are no refunds for the $2 Sports Show.
Because you always get what you pay for. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.